Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing? Funny Bone here. Do y'all remember a couple of videos back? Funny Bone said there's nothing worse than a woman scorned, especially if it's a sister. And y'all know what I'm talking about. If you got a sister that is scorned, you scorned, people, that's an enemy for life. R. Kelly was right. Y'all may not agree with R. Kelly's situation, but R. Kelly was right about one thing. When a woman is fed up, it ain't nothing you can do. Nothing. If she fed up, just get away from her. That's my advice to all of y'all. Y'all think there's a chance that y'all gonna make it. If she fed up, and she give you that fed up look like, fool, and then you can say it's gonna save your. So get out of my face. I don't want to see you no more. You go on that side of the planet, I go on this side. Once it gets like that, people, ain't nothing you can do. I see here what what I'm talking about, people. I'm getting at is Cassie has written a letter to the judge. Want him to throw the book at Diddy. Give him every day that he possibly can. Cause you know, a sister, like I was telling y'all, a sister, once they scorn, you know, I don't know what ratio of sister that Cassie is. I don't know. She Philippine, whatever she is, but she close enough. She got some sister blood in her because she's relentless. She said, "Judge, look here, don't release this fool under no circumstances because he's probably gonna try to get back at me. I'll be the first one on the list." And do y'all blame her for feeling like that? I don't. I don't blame her at all. Based on the testimony that we've heard, what she had to go through in Diddy's care, people, and the prosecution is seeking 11 years. Needless to say, Diddy has flipped. Diddy thought he was going to do time served, and a couple of months after that, I was trying to enlighten y'all, his fan base, that this fool ain't finna walk free no time soon. And no time later either. I'm here to tell y'all. Diddy has ruffled some bad feathers. When you ruffle bad feathers, it's hard to straighten them back out. Bad feathers already been in that. And when you ruffle them, you can't straighten them out. That's the situation Diddy's in. Y'all take a listen at this. Funny Bone saw this and knew that y'all would want to hear it. Y'all take a listen.
Welcome to Chronicle Speaks. Hear back from the judge to see if he will approve or deny that request. The government has just entered a 189-page sentencing memorandum. Now, in this memorandum, they're stating exactly why they believe Sean P. Diddy Combs deserves at least 135 months in federal prison. Now, that's over 11 years.
Yep.
They're also wanting him to possibly have the maximum financial penalties as well. They also included pictures of Cassie. They talked about the hotel incident. And they have witness impact statements from Cassie, Deontay Nash, Capricorn Clark, and more. We are going to get into all of this and so much more. But before we do, please be sure to subscribe.
People, one thing I'm going to say about that. Diddy, and I told y'all this ever since September, you do not get on the wrong side of the government with charges like this with underage people. It ain't about Cassie. It ain't about he was abusive with Cassie. That's part of it. But the violence altogether with several people. And y'all got to remember, the judge seen all of this. Just all of it. A lot of stuff the judge has seen that we haven't seen. But we heard enough testimony to know that Mr. Diddy is an evil little creature. We know that. We know he ain't nobody that you want your daughter to date. We know that. So his supporters, if the prosecution is seeking at least 11 years, the judge can give 3, 4, 5 times that if he wants. So even the prosecution is seeking double-digit years. Funny Bone always said he's going to get at least 15. But I'm going to be honest with y'all and truthful. If Diddy get a sentence more than 3 years, his chance of surviving in prison, the charges that he's going in there with, you think he's getting beat up over there at NDC? That ain't going to hold a candle to where he's going. Won't hold a candle, people. So, and he's talking about he fears for his life already over there at NDC. Because he knows once he gets sentenced, and the harsher prisons are coming. I'm telling you. It's going to make MDC seem like prime head. I'm telling you. And they're going to send him to a bad one. Because the government don't like P Diddy. And they're going to make his time served hard time served. Y'all take a listen.
And for so long. Now, the feds argue that Diddy's crimes weren't one-offs. They spanned more than a decade, involving violence, drugs, coercion, and manipulation. Now, while he was acquitted on the heavier racketeering and trafficking charges, the jury still convicted him of transporting women across state lines for prostitution under the Mann Act.
Yeah.
Now, the government says the way he carried out these crimes through abuse and control and manipulation made this case one of the most serious of its kind.
Yep.
They say Diddy has shown zero remorse, even blaming his victims, and his abuse has caused permanent scars, physical, emotional, and psychological. Now, here's where things get a bit tricky. Now, the prosecution isn't just relying on the 2 counts that Diddy was actually convicted of. They're bringing up all kinds of other incidents, as they did in the trial. And this is where the defense is saying there's a lot of spillover prejudice. And this is also why the defense is saying that if Diddy cannot be acquitted, they want a brand new trial just on the 2 charges that Diddy was convicted of. Now, they spoke about the alleged kidnapping of Capricorn Clark, Diddy allegedly breaking into Kid Cudi's home, along with the explosion of Kid Cudi's car. And they spoke about the 2016 infamous hotel incident in Los Angeles. We all remember where surveillance footage showed Diddy chasing Cassie down the hallway, throwing her to the ground and kicking her, right?
Beat Cassie, he was
the jury
almost
never
butt naked.
convicted
Beat
him
Cassie up.
on any domestic violence charges tied to that moment. In fact, he was never even indicted for assault in the case, but prosecutors are still using it in their sentencing memo, saying it shows a pattern of violence that surrounded the Mann Act crimes, and they argue that under federal sentencing law, judges can look at all relevant conduct, not just the charges the jury found him guilty of. Now, it's not...
That is what gonna get Diddy. Not just the 2 Mann Act violations and charges that he was found guilty of. It's gonna be other crimes involved with all of that. That's what people ain't looking at. The judge is gonna look at everything. All the crimes he did while he was doing the Mann Act. All the crimes he did before that. All the crimes he did after that. All the people he's abused. All the people he's bought off. See, all of that make P Diddy real dangerous. Manipulator. Now we see how he got to the top. Yeah, wasn't by no skill, because he can't rap, he can't sing, he can't dance. So he ain't nothing but a pitch man for the other artists. He was just a pitch man for his other artists. His other artists were the stars, and he was half paying them. Wasn't paying them, he still owe Mace right now. Talking about Mace owe him $3 million. Yeah, right. You owe Mace a lot of your career, because you ain't talented, period. Yep, that's right. Funny Bone said that. He ain't talented worth a damn. Y'all take a listen.
Just the hotel tape that they're talking about. The government also wants the judge to weigh things like instances where he allegedly RAPED Cassie, times when Jane said she was drugged and forced into hotel nights, as well as letters from former employees describing SA or exploitation. Again, some of these acts were never formally charged, and others were tied to counts where the jury acquitted him. So the government is pretty much saying that reintroducing this information to the judge in time for sentencing is fair game, while the defense is saying this is spillover prejudice. Basically, they say that the jury already sat through weeks of horrifying stories, some tied to charges that didn't stick. Now, to turn around and use those same stories to jack up his sentencing is like punishing him for crimes he already beat in court. The defense is arguing that it's fundamentally unfair. How can you find him not guilty on a charge, yet still get sentenced as if you were guilty? So to fight back, the government is citing cases in this memorandum where courts allowed judges to weigh acquitted conduct when deciding a sentence. So the government's position is yes, he was acquitted on some counts, but the evidence of violence, fear, and manipulation is still relevant to show the seriousness of the crimes he was convicted of.
Exactly.
In their view, this isn't about retrying him. It's about making sure his sentence reflects the full scope of his behavior. Now, the government focused on Cassie and Jane, stating that Cassie's relationship with Diddy was marked by control, violence, and humiliation. He called her moldable, beat her repeatedly, and forced her into multi-day freak-offs with male escorts fueled by drugs, and used secretly filmed images to blackmail her. Now, years later was Jane. This was between 2021 and 2024, and they're stating that the pattern repeated through hotel nights. Nearly their entire relationship revolved around drug-filled marathon sessions with escorts. When she resisted, he controlled her with money, paying her rent, and threatening to cut her off.
Coercion.
In June of 2024,
that's coercion, people.
He viciously assaulted her and then forced her to perform oral sex on an escort, and evidence of her injuries were shown at trial. So because of this, the government wants the judge to stack on every enhancement available under the federal guidelines, including using threats and fear, causing serious bodily injury, targeting vulnerable victims, playing an aggravated leadership role, and obstructing justice, like when he tried to mislead the court with a fake legal notebook. They're wanting Diddy to serve at least 135 months, and they feel it's justified because of the seriousness of the crimes. They state that Mann Act cases involving violence and fear typically result in long sentences, and they argue Diddy should be no exception. Now, here are the comparisons. They say that other Johns or traffickers got harsh time, and the government says Diddy is more culpable than many of them. They want to send a message that even celebrities with money and power face real consequences. And then there's a history of violence. They bring up decades of abuse, not just against Cassie and Jane, but also former employees who wrote letters describing SA and exploitation. So let's get into Cassie's letter to the judge. She says, "Dear Judge Subramanian, I have been in a cycle of thought and then overthought writing this letter to you. If there is one thing I have learned from this experience, it is that victims and survivors will never be safe. Although I can hope for justice and accountability, I have come to not trust anything. I hope that your decision considers the truths at hand that the jury failed to see. For 4 days in May, while 9 months pregnant with my son, I testified in front of a packed courtroom about the most traumatic and horrifying chapter in my life. I testified that from age 19, Sean Combs used violence, threats, substances, and control over my career to trap me in over a decade of abuse. He groomed me. Sean Combs used violence, threats, substances, and control over my career to trap me in over a decade of abuse. He groomed me into performing repeated SEX acts with hired male SEX workers during multi-day freak-offs, which occurred nearly weekly. I was forced into lingerie and heels, told exactly how to look, and plied with drugs and alcohol so he could control me like a puppet. These events were degrading and disgusting, leaving me with infections, illnesses, and days of physical and emotional exhaustion before he demanded it all again. SEX acts became my full-time job, used as the only way to stay in his good graces. I testified that I learned to read Sean Combs' signals, knowing that when he spoke of freak-offs, he was demanding them, and that refusing meant punishment, losing my car, my phone, or worse.
Coercion.
He controlled every part of my livelihood and threatened to destroy my reputation by leaking SEX tapes, a threat he repeated often. His power over me eroded my independence and sense of self until I felt I had no choice but to submit. When he believed I had wronged him or was not sufficiently responsive, he also threatened people around me and those close to me, including my family. I regularly worried that displeasing him meant putting my family and friends' safety at risk. I testified that beyond those threats, Sean Combs frequently used violence to get his way. Over the nearly 11 years we were together, Sean Combs would hit me, punch me, stomp on my face, pull my hair, and throw my body to the ground and against the wall. The jury saw pictures of bruises on my back from Combs kicking me and saw the deep gash on my eye he caused when he slammed me into a bed frame. The entire courtroom watched actual footage of Combs kicking and beating me as I tried to run away from a freak-off in 2016. People watched this footage dozens of times, seeing my body thrown to the ground, my hands over my head, curled into a fetal position to shield me from the worst blows. This physical violence caused bruises that makeup artists paid for by Sean Combs would cover up, as well as permanent scars all over my body.
Wow.
During my times with Combs, I was in a constant state of hypervigilance as I was always anticipating demands for SEX acts or otherwise fearing retribution for any perceived slight. My descent into substance abuse was directly correlated with his increased control over my body, my money, my freedom, and my free will. I used those drugs to push through the horrifying SEX acts he demanded and to numb myself to the physical pain and emotional turmoil I was constantly in. While the defense attorneys at trial suggested that my time with Combs was akin to a great modern love story, nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing about this story is great, modern, or loving. This was a horrific decade of my life, stained by abuse, violence, forced SEX, and degradation. I spent the last 7 years of my life slowly rebuilding myself, physically getting clean from the drug abuse Sean Combs forced and encouraged, and mentally understanding how to live with a seemingly insurmountable level of trauma. The horrors I endured drove me to have thoughts of unaliving, ones I almost followed through on. If not for my family's intervention and urging that I seek professional care. I have been to rehab and have taken parts in dozens of types of therapy modalities to confront, compartmentalize, and cope with the horrific memories of sexual and emotional abuse I endured for nearly 10 years. While what he did to me is always present, I am slowly learning how to live my life free of the fear of horrors I endured, and in doing so, am fully devoted to my husband and my children. I still have nightmares and flashbacks on a regular, everyday basis, and continue to require psychological care to cope with my past. My worries that Sean Combs or his associates will come after me and my family is my reality. I have in fact moved my family.
Y'all hear that? That young lady is afraid that Diddy or his associates gonna come after her and her family. She's got every right to feel that way, people. This woman testified 9 months pregnant against him to tell her story, what she's endured for 11 years. And my hat is off to Cassie. No one is a willing participant if they're gonna get infections behind it. Nobody's an idiot. Who would want that on themselves? So her enjoying every minute of it is BS. That's BS. But Friday is going to tell the tape. Prosecution seeking 11 years. Judge Superannual will need to give him 111 years. In my book, anybody that will hurt a child, anybody that will beat women like that, y'all ain't never heard of him beating up no man. Every time he's doing something, he's got the protection of his bodyguards when he's beating somebody up, unless it's a woman. Now, he can beat a woman up one-on-one. What, Cassie, a $1.05, $1.10? Yeah, he can beat her up. But when it comes to a man, he's going to have his bodyguards with him. Cowardice. Purity cowardice. Now, because you know a man will beat his ass. Plain and simple. One-on-one, those men that quick to beat up women, they won't try to beat a man. Because they know they won't. They're so used to beating up women, when a man fight them back, they ain't got no chance. None. So, the danger in the sex act that he's been accused of, he's got a lot of things that he was doing while he was committing that. That's what people got to look at. Mitigating circumstances, people. He got a lot of them. Too many to count. So when he thought he was going over the judge's head by trying to tell Donald Trump to pardon him, asking Donald Trump for a pardon, the judge was more than fair with you in the courts. And you gonna do that? The same man that has to sentence you, fool. All the evidence this man has looked and seen, all the horrific acts that you've committed that he had to look at what kind of creep you are. What kind of menace you are to society, Combs. But the government got places for people like y'all. And Diddy is going to be the first one. Some of his buddies going to follow. Watch. Some of his buddies going to follow him to prison. It's coming, people. And rightfully so. So, people, I saw this. And like I said, when you got a woman scorn a sister against you, you got an enemy for life, buddy. For life. So, she asking the judge to give you a million years if you can. In other words, don't never let him out. Ever. And I think Miss Cass probably going to get her wish. Because like I said, the cost of living for Diddy is going to go down. And his chance of living is going to go way down. Yeah. See, he ain't got to worry about buying no jet fuel for his jet. He ain't got to worry about catering no freak-offs. He ain't got to worry about collecting nobody's phone so they can't tell on him. He ain't got to worry about booking hotels, paying people to clean it up. He ain't got to worry about none of that in prison. All he got to do is keep his little cell clean. But Mr. Diddy going to be keeping the whole cell block clean. But when he first get in there, he going to be in for a rude awakening, people. Way more than he been getting over there in DC. That's all I can tell y'all. So people, I saw this. And I had to share it with y'all. So y'all, hit them thumbs up. Hit them thumbs up. Y'all subscribe. A lot of y'all watching, y'all still ain't subscribed. I look on y'all page and you watch me a lot, but you still ain't subscribed. Subscribe, people. When you hit that subscribe, hit that all content bell. That bell pop up, hit all content. So you can see everything I post. Because like I said, people, I'm going to keep y'all in the loop. Point blank period. So that's all it is, people. Y'all have a nice day. And like I said, y'all get us up there. Get the video out there. So we can spread the word that P Diddy, 11 years. I hope it's 111. Y'all have a wonderful night. Peace.